All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Florida Hockey Bros. We were just talking Toronto Maple Leafs. That's why I was laughing. My name is David. I'm joined by my brother Dario on the other side of the screen, and today's going to be a very Maple Leafs heavy episode. We are going to touch on a couple of other topics to start, including some of the camp stuff going around the league, especially. My brother has some pictures. Of the Oilers that he wants to share and stuff. I haven't seen it yet, so we'll see. And let's start with the Jeremy Swayman stuff, and the Sweeney little back and forth behind the scenes seems to be very interesting. I would say the first thing I would say is I saw one of the Bruins reporters, forgot his name, Murphy. He was the one that said that the deal was being worked behind closed doors and that the expectation was that it would be finalized by today. And then quickly after that, a few minutes later, it was reported that, basically they're not close. And Sweeney said what he said at the conference. So the same reporter had to kind of take it back and check on his sources. So we can start there. Kind of funny, right? I don't know, did you hear the audio or did you just read what Sweeney said?
I saw a couple of the clips. I didn't see the whole thing.
He was pissed off.
Oh no, he called spitting chiclets something like
spitting it up or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's wow. Saying his kid or whatever is a fan, but like those guys are just like doing rumors.
And he just said of Biz, and Biz was like, wait, it wasn't me.
It wasn't even me. Yeah. I love that Biz's tweet was like, I love this, I love that, I love Lamp. I love that he was quoting like Ron Burgundy, the movie.
Anchorman, yeah.
Anchorman, and yeah. So anyway, I think Sweeney looked to me like a guy who lost control of the situation. I think to me what's happened is that he took it for granted that he was going to figure this out with Swayman. He probably misread it. He probably underplayed how much Swayman did not like the arbitration last year. And how smart he is business wise as a player. And, you hear him talk about the contract, and if I were a GM, I'd be terrified. He sounds like somebody who's looking to make his money, who understands his value, who understands the market, and also seems now a guy who's willing to not play, and so, or at the very least not train. So with the team, so I think Sweeney kind of did the Allmark thing, just taking all this stuff for granted, thinking we could do a 3-year deal, let him prove himself. We'll give him about $6 million. That's a lot of money, for a guy who hasn't played a full season and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm saying, nah, man, you made me the starter. I've been in the playoffs. You're a guy, you go-to guy now kind of for a couple of years, because even Allmark got pulled the year before against the Panthers. And my numbers are elite because they are. And I'm still, I'm young, and you can sign me for 7 or 8 years and give me like 8-9 million or whatever he wants. So and Sweeney's didn't plan for that. And cap wise, he probably doesn't want to pay that money right now. So they're probably going to end up with like a 2 to 3 year, $7 million kind of somewhere in there kind of contract probably. But yeah, I think Sweeney overplayed his hand. I think he just misread the whole thing. And now, of course, the rumors are going to come out, and he's losing control of the situation, which is not a great look for a GM, I have to say.
Well, so the report, I'm pretty sure, is that Swayman is not going to report at all until a new contract is signed.
And Sweeney mentioned December 1, which is the deadline for them to figure it out. So he's like expecting this to go deep.
Yeah, he's pretty much telling Swayman right there, his agent, I'm not budging that much. I think that it's pretty obvious that they were looking more into a shorter term deal, those 4 years times 6.2. I think that was going to be the bridge deal, which would be really stupid of Swayman to take that, considering by the end of that deal he would be in his late 20s basically. So getting the next 8 years wouldn't be as easy. And what's the first thing Jeremy Swayman mentioned when he did that interview or that podcast? He right away brought up the topic of arbitration last year between them, and he really was sour by that. I think that he really doesn't like Sweeney right now.
Well, here's a quote. After doing what I did this summer with arbitration and hearing things that players should never hear, it feels pretty special to be in this situation. Like,
Wow.
yeah. Like
Wow.
he
Hearing
does
things
not
that
like the
players
front
should never
office.
hear.
I think he's basically saying, and this is true. I mean, somebody mentioned this in a podcast the other day. Might have been Chris Johnson or somebody, but who said, listen, the reason players don't want to always leave money on the table is that they always feel like the team is going to misuse that money anyway, right? Because you have to really trust your front office if you're going to take a pay cut, that they're going to do the best with that, or at least going to partner with you to figure out that part. They're not going to do that with Swayman. So I think that, yeah, I think Swayman is saying, pay me, man. Like, pay me straight up. Like, I'm good enough. You wanted me. You've made me your first. You've shown all the signs. I've proven myself in the playoffs enough. I've played myself in the regular season enough. Like, what else do you want? And I do consider him one of the top goalies in the league. I mean, just the eye test for me in the playoffs, this dude was like a freaking wall, man. He's not the flashy guy. He's not gonna be Shosturkin, whatever. But the dude is a wall out there. His positioning is elite. I think he has the best positioning in the league. He's always square to the shooter. He's always there. Doesn't let the rebounds get in. Like, I mean, look at some of the goals we had to score. Like that was a forced link goal that basically won the series. It went like it was the weirdest goal. That was a fluky goal. He didn't see it, and he went through the perfect little hole between the defenseman and the goalie. Like there's some stuff like that. Like you have to do in order to beat him. You got to get deflections and shit. So anyway, they'll figure it out. It's the Bruins. He's gonna sign. As I always say, once the player gets paid, everybody moves on, and they'll be fine even if it's a bridge deal. But it's just unfortunate because it is a distraction for a team. I think that should be excited. The fact that they got some new additions, a few other additions that people are not even talking about that would be good contributions, and they have a couple of really exciting young guys in Laura and Poitra or whatever. So I actually am more high on the Bruins than most people are, and this is kind of going to take away from it. So
yeah, I do think it's going to hurt them if they don't find a resolution. It's just going to be a distraction, and you kind of wanted to go into the season ready to roll. Considering how you lost last year to the Panthers in the second round.
The last 2 years, man.
Yeah, that you can advance a little bit further.
Marchand's last hurrah. I know he's going to keep playing, but he's not going to be the same guy.
You need that goaltender, and it's to me, it's very low risk to sign him for long term. I think
I would. I mean, I would say, hey, are you willing to take 8 times 8 or 8 times 8.5? I think you can live with that with the cap going up. And if Swayman turns out to be a bust, I mean, who saw that coming, right? Like, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think Swayman's looking at it like, well, 8 times 8, I don't know, 8 mil right now. In 2 years, I can easily make 10. So I think he's
but then that's where. But then Sweeney goes back and say, I totally hear you. You want to make 10 in 2 to 3 years. For now, I'll give you 6. Like, you got to prove yourself. Show me you're a $10 million guy. I don't think you are right now. So I will give you the $10 million in 2 to 3 years, and when the cap goes up, but you got to show it to me. In the meantime, I need you to take a $6.5 million deal. So because my cap, the next 2 or 3 years is tough, man. So anyway, that would be I am sure that's the push and pull right there. So
yeah. All right, we can move on from that.
All right, buddy, ready for a little slideshow, bro?
I think we both thought that Swayman and Draisaitl would be done at the same time. But anyway, moving on to this weird pictures that you have. Let's start with that Oilers one. I haven't even read what he's doing.
Let me see if I can do this right.
Like overrated.
I always get this a little bit wrong, and I have to switch. It's gonna look weird for a second, but I'm gonna switch. Can you guys see that? Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who that is?
Connor, first day of Oilers camp. I am 27 years old. This is my 10 NHL training camp.
10 years in the league, bro. Doesn't have a cup yet.
My favorite player growing up was Crosby. My go-to snack is candy. My hockey stick is CCM. All
right. So a couple thoughts. I titled this picture. The Panthers did that to my face. Because obviously it's just a picture, but he looks very unhappy.
He looks very unhappy.
So I'm gonna title it "The Panthers did this to my face." I will say, I mean, whatever. I'm joking. Oilers fans, whatever. Best player in the league. Blah blah blah. Nobody disputes that. It's a kind of an easy joke with the 10 years without a cup or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I have one, and I'll say for the train camp for the Oilers, like all reports are that they're actually very loose because the theory is that because they finally have been through it, they got to a final, they got close, they've been through the suffering and the pain, not just getting swept or whatever, but actually getting so close. They actually have seen and felt what it's like, and that relaxes them. And I actually buy that theory. I think that actually bodes well for the team. I think last year, this whole idea of like cup of bust and blah, 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 that actually led them into a terrible start. They need to be loose. They need to be relaxed. They know what's going on. They know that the effort's going to be there. My issue with them is not that. I think the issue with them is the team construction, like the defense and the offense that doesn't defend and the goalie and all that. But anyway, so I'm not, I don't have any comments about the camp other than like the guys seem loose. I think they're going to have a good season and then we'll see what happens in the playoffs. My issue with this photo is candy's not a snack, bro. Like saying that your favorite snack is a candy, it's like saying that your favorite song is bluegrass music or saying that your favorite color is the rainbow. Candy is a category of snack. There are many things that are candies. Like, do you like hard candy? Are you talking about licorice? What the hell kind of candy? Also, do you not have a childhood? He probably didn't. I mean, because he was, the whole obsession with hockey. How, as an adult, is candy your favorite snack? Like, your palate evolves every 7 years or so, I think. Like, by the time you're like, how old is he? 27? Yeah. There's no frigging way that candy, you know how much sugar and how bad that is for your teeth? It's got to be. You know what Draisaitl said? Kit Kat, which is my favorite snack. Now, he was specific. It's a chocolate bar. It's got below the, the crunchiness and the chocolate on the outside. That's a specific snack. Somebody else, I think Hyman or somebody else said popcorn. No, Hyman said banana bread. I think it was banana bread. I couldn't read his handwriting, which is like elite candy, elite snack, because that's out of left field. Somebody else put popcorn. I'm like, yeah, that's what candy, bro. You're the best player in the league. You're the face. You got no personality. Like we need charisma, bro. We need you to sell the league. We need you to be like Ovechkin. Ovechkin's really funny.
Yeah.
Like, candy, bro. It's not a snack. It's not a snack, Connor. Somebody get to talk to him, bro.
Yeah, that's funny, man. That's just to look at his face is like freaking
making me do this. Well, if you go to all the other photos from the team, they're all smiling. They're all having the best time because it's a great idea. I actually like the idea because this is what I do for my kid. Like when you're first day of school. So I like this. I actually thought it was funny. This is genuinely funny. Now I'm gonna show you another picture that I don't think is funny, but I have a title for it too. All right, here you go. This is from the start of camp for the Leafs. I called this cup or bust because this is what the Leafs have been saying. It was, I think Riley said it, and then a bunch of other people have said it. Kind of cup or bust, kind of year. It says that it is the last year for the core four, which everybody thought was last year, which everybody thought was the year before. But, this year, guys, it's going to be the last year for the core four because Tavares is not going to get extended, even though he is, and Marner might be traded, even though he won't be. But anyway, this is the face of a cup or bust team right here. Willie Styles is going to play center now, second line center. Trust him to play two ways, So yeah, this is my cup of bust. And just if you are thinking, that's just Willie being Willie. No, they made everybody do it. They made everybody do it. Look at this guy.
I hadn't seen that one.
Bro, he looks straight up. He looks like the mushroom from Super Mario, bro.
He looks like the Crypt Keeper, bro.
Oh my God. And he was making fun of Bennett because he didn't have any hair or whatever. Bro, come on, man.
Oh my God.
But anyway, they made the whole team. This one of Joseph Wall, this one of Riley. They made the whole team do this. Again, they're trying to have fun. I'm not the killer of fun. I'm all for fun.
Yeah. It's
a little bit too clownish. And again, I know it's a new season and all that, but like cup or bust, and this is your anyway. It's just pure Leafs, man. So like we can talk about the Leafs camp, but yeah, I just thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, we'll get into that next, but I feel like I'm starting to understand like what that city is about and why that team is like that. It's the city, man. It's the fans. It's like they're like 20 years old at heart. No matter, you could be a 50-year-old or a 10-year-old kid. They're all 20 years old, and they're just stuck in that youthful, like look at things and the funny offense. And look, this guy has swag. Willie's so cool.
All right, you know what I compared it to? This time of the year for the Leafs fans, not all of you, but for a lot of you, it's when like certain animals are in heat and they become male animals and they become really dumb. Like, there's there are a lot of animal species that do that. I feel that this is the time of year for the Leafs fans where like because Berube is there. Like they were showing clips from camp. Look, Tavares is battling Tanev, and I'm like, they do that every season. That's every preseason. Every like these drills are like every team does them. Berube is preaching toughness, and I'm like, yeah, I know. I think he will create more of a stingy defensive system, and that might work. But we're not discussing, like, we're not talking about that being the issue. And also, you're overplaying. Like all of a sudden now, Keefe is like the worst coach in the history of the world.
Oh yeah.
You know what it's got? It's got me rooting. I don't want to root for the Devils, man, and it's kind of got me rooting for the Devils now because it's like I want Keefe to have a better record than Berube this year because it was time for him to go. But not because he's a bad coach. And yes, he got out coach in some ways, and he definitely played some of these guys way too much. I'll buy it when I see it. The Berube is going to play Matthews or Marner 20 minutes a night when he's down a goal instead of 24. Because if you don't see with the Oilers, and I just don't buy it. Because you're going to have Robertson out there. You're going to have Pacioretty out there, in the third period trying to score a goal. Like, this is where it gets a little bit like Keefe did that because that's what's asked of him by the front office, and two, that's the expectation. You have to play these guys. That's where the money is. You can try putting Robertson out there in the third period, and maybe he gets you the goal, but maybe he allows you the goal because he's a worse defender than Matthews is and Marner's is. So, like, your team construction's off. Like, your team plays a certain style. Even if you get them to play a little bit different, that might work for some games. But the issue is, can you sustain it every game? Can you sustain it in the playoffs? Can Willie truly play center against an elite team, that has elite centers? Like the Panthers have 3 legit centers. The Bruins are going to have some really good centers, et cetera, et cetera. Like, can even Tampa with Point and Cirelli and stuff like that. So I think that's where you get into trouble. You don't even realize, like, once you play center, it's not just about the scoring. If you don't match up well against the other center, you're screwed. So, if you blow the zone as a center, that's even worse than as a winger. So anyway, that to me is the issue here, is that I looked at all your lines in the camp so far. Bro, I don't know about you. I don't know if you've seen it, David, but like outside of the first line with Nice, maybe.
Yeah, you just have a top 6 and you're running a huge risk with...
They had Nylander with Domi and Robertson. You can't play that. Like, that line doesn't defend. Tavares he's going to play with Pacioretty and McMahon, like, or McMahon, maybe Pacioretty's a fourth liner. Maybe they play with McMahon and John Croak. Like, it's a shutdown line. I'm like, not really. I mean,
I think anyway. We can start there. Like, let's start with Berube and the changes he's making. This is exactly it. He's gonna come in here. Like, he had John Kruk in the top line for a little bit. Like, he's gonna kind of stir the pot and make it look like everybody's gonna get a chance and the superstars aren't safe. I think the Willie Nylander experiment is gonna fail, if not during the season in the playoffs, because you cannot shoot first as a center generally. Otherwise, that means you're attacking and you're leaving your wingers exposed by the blue line. So your job is to kind of sit back and guard those corners or those sides. So I think that it's like he has to learn a whole new thing. It's not just playing center for the sake of, this is our second or third best player in the team, let's put him as our 2C because Marner is our best winger. It's not about that. It's about him having to now play different, maybe get 50 points, 60 points in the season as a second line center, because that's kind of what you have to do to make sure that the line is good enough. And also, what's going to be the identity of the team with Berube? Is the top line going to be like the only scoring line? Because then your second line has to be kind of like that forechecking line, which is not going to be with Nylander. So what identity are you going to keep? How are you going to play physical and hard with the way you're constructing the line? Also, if they play Pacioretty with Tavares on the same line, that line is going to get killed.
Yeah, man. And I think this whole Berube thing gets overblown in the sense that Berube is going to be a strong coach, but Berube made one playoff with the Phillies and lost in the first round. He won that cup
with the Phillies.
Wow, Philly, sorry. With the Flyers, with Philly. But then after so he goes to St. Louis and takes over the team halfway in, whatever, and wins the cup. And we've talked about the team he had and the leaders, and the veterans and the dogs basically that he had there, plus Bennington getting hot. But beyond that, the following season he loses in the first round to the Canucks in 6, and then the year after that he gets swept by Colorado in the first round and blown out every single game. And then the year after that, they do make it to the second round because they get through Minnesota in 6, but then they lose again to Colorado. And then he doesn't make the playoffs for the last 2 years there. He has some talent. So all to say that he's a really good coach, he's a motivator. He's not a magician, no coach is. Like, he's only going to motivate your team. It does not ensure a cup. It does not ensure that you even make the conference finals. He didn't get to the conference finals against St. Louis after that one cup. And again, a lot of circumstances had to break his way in order for that cup to happen. And the team construction he had a lot of veteran leadership. You had a lot of guys who are captains. You had scorers. You had a hot goalie. And nobody expected them to win, and they had to win every game in like overtime, whatever. So all to say that I think, can he push your team a little bit deeper? Can he make them tougher? Yeah, he probably could do that. That Tanev is still a question whether or not he gets injured. OEL's reliability is going to be a question depending on the minutes you give him. You right now have lost a lot of goals on the offense. You don't have a lot of names there. You have a lot of question marks. You have a lot of forwards who don't play two ways. You have invested still a lot of money on your top guys. The Marner thing could be a distraction. What if it doesn't go well? What if they're defending well but not scoring? Because if Willie's not blowing the zone and some of these guys are playing more responsible, like the Panthers did, the goal scoring is going to be a little bit difficult, and you're going to have to go to the front of the net or really have a hot power play. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen, and if it's looking more playoff ready, but they're not winning as much, or it's not as sexy, or not scoring as much, and what if Matthew has a 50-goal season versus 69? Are you going to say he had a terrible season? What if he's actually playing the best two-way ever played, right? So that's where I think all that drama, all those conversations are going to happen, and the pressure's there. And what if there's an injury? So you don't have a deep team. You just don't with the forwards. If one of your top 3-4 forwards gets injured for 20 games, you're going to be in trouble, man. And so that's what I'm saying. The question marks are team construction, health, depth, ability to play in the playoffs every series. What if you play the Panthers in the first round? What if you play the Bruins again in the first round? It's just, maybe you can win, but it's not going to be easy. And Berube isn't going to guarantee you anything. And I just don't buy the team construction. That's my 2 cents. I think Liljegren is still a liability. I think Domi's a liability. I don't think Robertson's anything. I think it's all noise. I don't think Hakanpää is going to be the difference maker. You guys had shot blockers before. You had a top 5 defense before. You have physical guys before. You had guys blocking shots before. You had a hot power play before. And you can't get out of the first round when it counts. So,
yeah, exactly. Like, regardless of your coach's philosophy, that doesn't mean it's going to translate well, especially with that core. For me, Nylander is like the biggest question mark on this team. Riley, followed by Marner, and then the goaltending. Like, those are all question marks. Those are questions you have to have as a fan. So you don't get like overly confident. The other thing is, like, it can go both ways. You can have a great season and you're riding high because it's Berube, and now it's going to be different going to the playoffs and kind of encounter the same thing. Or the season can go really bad for you because the team is just not adapting. And then what do you do then? Like, that would be the biggest thing for me to look out for. If the team kind of struggles, I do think they'll make the playoffs. But if they struggle, how do they approach the following year? And like, putting all your marbles on Matthew scoring 50 to 60 goals, it's just not realistic. He's not going to be able to do that every single year. So that's what I'll say about the team construction.
I also don't think this idea about John Tavares is not a second line center. Tavares didn't put up many points or whatever against the Bruins, but Tavares had to play first line minutes as a center because Matthews was out for some of those games. He was not a minus player in that series, and he is a guy that what he gives you. And he's going to give you some face-offs. He's going to give you some physicality a little bit on the boards. He does go to the net. He scored that game-winning goal against Tampa, the series-winning goal. Yeah. I think he's, last year he put up good enough points. Like you can make it work with him. You know why what the issue is for Tavares on the second line? He's got Nylander when he's who doesn't freaking defend and blows the zone every single time. And so to me, and he doesn't really have a true left winger that he could rely on. But for you to force, this is my opinion. Nylander's been in the league how many years? He's 20 years old. Keefe did not want to play him as center, and Keefe knows him since the AHL when he coached them. You telling me that you're trying Nylander at center again, this says to me, you are absolutely desperate. Like, you are desperate. You've given up on Tavares. You don't believe in him for whatever reason. And you are desperate, and you know the deficiencies that you have on the wing. And you need more guys as center that can kind of carry a line because you just don't have the right mix and the right balance. And it speaks of desperation to me.
Yeah. And I also think that they do listen to the fans and they realize that they didn't really deliver on all the changes that they said were coming this year. A lot of people would say, and we can get into the defense, a lot of people would say that the defense is, vastly improved without TJ Brody and bringing in OEL for him. And all that stuff. But I think a lot of this is just they had to do some moves. They're about a year or two late on the coach replacement. Probably should have done that last offseason and gone into last season as kind of a transition year. So that now with the new contract of Matthews, you already have Nylander, you have Wool ready. Like, it would make more sense to have done this before. And that's just lack of vision from Shanahan, because it really falls on him at this point. And Treliving is kind of just a weird little puppet. But yeah, what do you think of the defense now? With some of these pairings, I know they got Tanev in the top line with Riley. They have OEL with McCabe, and then the third line, I think there'll be a few tryouts between Benoit Timmins and some of the other guys that they brought in. I know Hakanpää, they're hoping that he probably plays on that third line.
Yeah, my thing with the defense is just the age, the health, the actual pairings. You're giving Liljegren $3 million, so you kind of have to play him. I mean, you're going to play a $3 million to your seventh guy.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about even Hakanpää being a seventh guy at 1.47. Like, bro, Schmidt's making 800. Adam Buckwist is making 775. Kulikov is 1.3 whatever million. Like Jacob Magna might be our eighth guy. He's an AHLer basically. If you wanted, he doesn't make even $1 million. So for you to be paying all these guys so much money to be your seventh guy, your eighth guy, Connor Timmins makes more than $1 million. Like, I know this is a market and you got to overpay and all that, but like, that to me feels like, again, really terrible cap management and not being able to develop or find defensemen at value. That's been an issue. And I'll say this quickly about the center thing, man. So they're trying Nylander desperately. They don't think Tavares might be ready for that, so they got to move third line. Ideally, they want to move to the wing. They don't have anyone else who can play center. John Krug at one point played it, but I guess they're not considering. You look at the Panthers, man. Reinhardt has been a starting center in this league and can play center. And you look at Lustrainen, who's been a starting center in this league with the Panthers and can play center. Rodriguez has been a starting center and can play center. Jesper Boqvist can play center and started a whole season of center with the Devils like 2 years ago. And Nosek is a center who's going to play probably fourth line center for the Panthers. Like, the Panthers have so many centers. Justin Sordev could play center if you wanted, on the fourth line. Like, and it was a first line center for the AHL last year for the Checkers the whole season. Like, you can't find a fucking center, man. You can't plan to have a center or a winger who can actually be moved there and you can trust for a whole season. You build that line so that you hide the deficiencies of some of these guys. Like, that is the part that I kind of don't get. Lundell has been trusted as a very young guy to play center in third lines against top lines over and over and over. Now, he's a great two-way player, and that's why they picked him. But, that's the part where I don't get. It's like, Nylander obviously hasn't been tried there because he's best uses on the right wing, and just don't get him to blow the zone on the freaking right wing and then play some defense, bro. You're a big dude. Hit some people.
Yeah. Like, I think what bit them in the ass is that, like, had they had some kind of planning or vision from the very beginning, you wouldn't have overpaid those guys, Nylander and Marner, on their first contracts. You would have held out maybe longer term at a lower AAV as they were back then. I think Nylander was at 8 or 8.5. If you would have held that for like another 4 years or until now, then you can make a decision all at once. Like, we're going all in with these guys after we know that they can do it, or can we now go find a couple of centers or a right-hand defenseman that's still young? So I think that lack of planning kind of got them to where they are now. And there's just not much they can do at this point, because you either reset in a way. If you trade Marner, you have to be ready to get someone to replace him, and you can't even replace a second line center. So I think that's where they're kind of stuck. And like you said, they're desperate, especially if you're hoping that Nylander becomes a 2C. I mean, I yeah, I don't see
And
that
I
running.
want to say, man, behind the scenes, this is what we know because we're Panthers fans, and this is our point of reference. Some things I'm noticing. You are hyping the Berube training camp thing when, by all accounts, and Reeves even said it, last year's camp with Keefe was super tough too. Tough camps are very common in the NHL. I know not everybody does them. We've heard that, the Sabres weren't practicing too hard. I guess Casey Middlestat, when we went to Avalanche, was like, oh shit, this is what a practice looks like. So yes, there are teams that don't do that. But the Bruins practice as hard as anybody. The Panthers, the Leafs, you would expect, the Colorado, all the top teams, the Oilers. That isn't necessarily going to, that narrative gets overblown because it's a new name and he's known as a tough guy. This idea that like all of a sudden the core four, last hurrah, couple bust, last chance. You've been saying that for 3 years. You listen to yourself. Like what's happening? How can you be so easily brainwashed? You don't think Tavares is going to get extended? You really don't think this front office is going to find a way to say, hey, we'll give you 5 years and keep the AAV down to 4 million? You don't think Marner is going to get extended and not get 12 million, 12.5 million once you start putting up points? We probably will. Yeah. Playing the top line with Matthews again. So you don't see this coming? Do you really think this franchise is going to go from being risk averse, not wanting to make moves, giving people no trade clause, doing what they did with Nylander, and all of a sudden telling Marner walk, or we'll trade you at the deadline on a year that you're trying to win a cup? Like, this is the part I'm like, how can you go over this over and over just because it makes sense to you? This is the front office you have now. A lot of Leafs fans know that and have told us that. Like, we know it, but dude, to see it with the pundits, with the podcast, all that stuff, even the glutton for punishment guys today were saying like Robertson's going to get 25 goals and now he's going to get 20 goals, and these other guys like Alex Nylander that had getting 18 goals or something. Alex Nylander is not going to start for the Leafs. If Alex Nylander is starting for the Leafs, just give up on the season. You guys are screwed. Also, your cap right now, you're over the cap. Pacioretty's not even signed. I don't even know who's going to get traded. You guys are a mess. Like, you don't realize what you have. And the other thing I'll say, they asked Berube about the coaching staff. It was pretty obvious the coaching staff was imposing him. That was picked by the front office. These are not his team. He said, we have to build chemistry. And he kind of laughed and chuckled when he was asked about it because, of course, he's like still learning all this stuff with these guys. And again, they're pros. I'm not saying that. But Maurice got to pick his staff. Most coaches get to pick their staff. And you know what Maurice did the first day with the coaching staff? They knocked down all the walls in the office and made it into an open thing. That he made a big deal about that. Like, this is going to be an open coaching thing. There's no like head coach or whatever. This is all of us. And then they kind of try to transmit that to the players. And Maurice kept saying it even now. It's in the room where it happens. The leadership happens. The accountability happens in the room. I don't have to, you may need to allow them on the bench a game or two. That's just to get them going, man. But the true accountability comes in the room. And that's the issue. Is Matthews going to stop? You think Matthews, who's known as being a quiet guy and respectful guy and a differential guy, is going to stand up all of a sudden and yell at guys? He himself has said that he's not his style. So I don't. It's like, I guess I'm from the outside and I'm neutral and I'm not emotionally invested, and you guys are, and this is the moment of hope. This spring for hockey. New season, blah blah blah. Hope. And I get it. I feel it with the Panthers. We all have hope. I want Mackey to do well, but I also know that Mackey could like be a bust or whatever, like could happen.
Or once you see.
But guess what? This is how much I trust my. If Mackey's a bust, I got Devine winning in the wins. I got Sachin winning the wins. I got Sortif winning in the wins. I trust my GM. If he's a bust, he'll extend for Hagee. He'll find a way to keep the offense. Like, I don't trust Tree Living. I don't trust Shanahan, and I don't trust anything. It's not the Berube. It's your franchise. Nobody who goes there. It's fucking poison, bro.
Yeah, I think Berube is he's gonna go crazy this year if they suck or if they get, they lose in 5 or 6 in the first round of the playoffs. I think he's gonna go off on some of the players.
He has not been in a market like that with Philadelphia and St. Louis.
Yeah, no, there's gonna be a lot of attention there. I'm kind of surprised he took the job, but you know what? It's your ego sometimes big. And the last thing I'll say, and I guess I'll ask you, it's like, what's up with all this like Willie Nylander fanboys, man?
Oh, Willie! Now that you're at center, I need to get a new Leafs jersey. Love you, Willie. It's embarrassing, bro. Listen, I love Lionel Messi. I follow him on Instagram. I'm the biggest Messi fan. I don't even talk about Messi this way. Like, it's just so embarrassing.
Bro,
Like,
it's so weird,
it
bro.
is so weird. Willie, like, listen, I look at Willie. Wear a shirt, wear a shirt. And it's not the body thing. It's not that. I'm not a prudish dude, like, at all. I'm all for fun and having, like, the rest of your team is wearing a shirt, wear a shirt just for the rest of the guys. Also, I'm sorry, you don't have the best body. I know you're strong and all that. You got good
He
legs.
has no
You got no
body,
shoulders.
bro.
You got no chest muscle, and you got a weird body. Like, you're showing, like, maybe in Canada that's considered sexy. You guys are used to the Swedish stuff. Like, in America, I'm gonna tell you right now, compared to most athletes that we have in America, he looks like shit. Like, he's got great legs and all that. He's an elite athlete. I'm not trying to say that, but in terms of looks, it looks like she has the biggest forehead ever and has no shoulders, no chest. So sorry, just put it out there. That's how Americans look at Willie. And second of all, like, the fawning over this guy. The guy doesn't defend. He's a liability on defense. He gives up back goals. Like, he doesn't care. He doesn't listen to anybody. He's not a leader, even though he's one of your highest paid guys. Like, if Reinhardt were William Nylander, I'd be asking for a trade like Huberdeau. I'll be praying that Cito sends his ass somewhere else for a good defenseman. Like,
No
anyway.
trade clause, buddy. No trade
Yeah, he's
clause.
yours for 8 years, bro. Enjoy him.
You can't move on without his approval. He's not approving shit.
Bro, it's going to be hilarious if he never scores more than like 45 goals and never touches 100 points. It'd be hilarious.
Yeah, but playoff performer. All right, I think we can end it there.
Thanks for the entertainment, man.
We'll
Keep it
probably
up, Leafs fans. Like, it's really it's bro. No wonder you guys, like, it's just
it's hilarious. It's really become like a TV show.
What you're watching, I don't get it.
Yeah, I just don't think they're. I saw Dangle and the guys talking about. Dangle said something like most Leafs fans would prefer like a gritty, tough, physical team like the ones from like the 90s or something, or early 2000s. I'm like, most Toronto fans are not like over the age of 25. They do have a lot of like old school fans. That's the ones that go to the games and all the corporate people. But their young fans most of their fans are super young. They haven't really watched them play really good hockey. And if your only reference is the team that you watch, unless that team improves like the Panthers and changes the way they play, then you're never really going to learn what it takes,
No, anyway, I think it just provides at least entertainment again, good narrative for the Atlantic and for the league. But it just becomes an easy target because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and some of you guys can help yourselves. And again, not all Leaf fans. There's a bunch of you guys that are smart. You get it. The front office poison, and you know that they don't really truly care about winning, and that they need to fix a lot of things and make a lot of changes in that culture to truly try to win. And we could surprise people. They could be, they could compete. They got some talent, of course, so that you're gonna always win around. That might happen. I don't expect the Leafs. I mean, the whole joke about the first round, it depends on who your matchup is. It really does. You could have been the Bruins last year, and probably would have gotten beaten by the Panthers. But I think at the end of the day, it is what it is. Just keep on hoping, man.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll come back next week with some more content for you guys getting close to the start of the season. We'll review some of the preseason stuff as it happens. And we'll catch you all next week. My dog is crying outside.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.